Hey beautiful people, what is up and welcome back to the channel and welcome to my first impressions video of the brand new Charlotte Tilbury, I don't know why I'm saying it like that, Beautyverse palette. Now I wasn't planning on buying this. Quite frankly, I was about to do a new releases video and just talk about the fact that that is giving ABH Cosmos, might be a little dusty, ashy, not really worth it. But what had happened was I had a couple of points on Bloomingdale's that were about to expire. And instead of me buying another handbag, because Lord knows I don't need it, I decided to go ahead and pick up this palette because honestly I had exactly $75 worth in points. And I was like, okay, let me go ahead and grab this one. With tax and everything, I ended up paying $4.50 out of pocket or something around there. So I was like, you know what, that's better than me spending a ton of money on a bag, even though I had like a $75, discount. So I picked up this palette. So what I'm going to do for this first impressions video is, per usual, I'm going to give you guys some product details, some swatches. I'll be doing 2 eye looks and then I'll come back at the end to wrap it up and give you guys my first impressions thoughts. But if this is your first time joining me, welcome. I'm Jamila. I love all things beauty. I love all things makeup and skincare, and I especially love sharing my tips and tricks for how to find high-end and luxury beauty products at bargain prices. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, I would absolutely love if you would consider subscribing and joining the fam. Okay, so like I said, I wasn't planning to pick up this palette, but, the stars aligned and it ended up in my collection. When it comes to Charlotte Tilbury, this is not a brand that I am specifically interested in or one that I particularly check for because I do feel like the brand is one of the most overpriced, particularly when it comes to eyeshadow. And I will say that their eyeshadow seems to be, to me, in my opinion, kind of basic at best. So it's never one that I am inclined to really look for or reach for because I think the price per gram is just stupid expensive for what you are gonna get. But like I said, this one ended up in my collection. And I will fully admit that I have a pretty huge collection of Charlotte Tilbury palettes. Mainly because I do think that they end up on Poshmark and Mercari very, very frequently for about half the price that they sell for retail, which personally I think is closer to the actual value of these palettes. That being said, let's go ahead and dive into the product details. So this is what the palette looks like. This is the outer packaging, which is absolutely stunning. Like, I can't put that past the brand. It is a little bit chunky in terms of the, width of it, but I will say that I do like the sort of outer packaging of this. It does come in a white box that has the shades on top here, as well as some additional product details on the back, including a little helpful, if you want to call it that, infographic on how to use the products here, or the shadows on your lids. Now looking at this, it does say that this has a 24-month shelf life, which quite frankly is not bad for this brand. There's also additional details on the back, including the shade names, shelf life, where it's made, all of that. So it says that this was made in Italy and has a 24-month shelf life. I don't see that this is vegan or cruelty-free, so something to keep in mind if that is important for you. Let's talk about the price. This palette will retail for, it does retail for $75. And I'm laughing because why? and this is a limited edition palette. So as far as I see, this is the holiday release for Charlotte Tilbury, which is actually a change from what the previous Charlotte Tilbury holiday releases have been. Now, in the past, the Charlotte Tilbury releases have been these long palettes, which are actually 12 shades. So let me just show you guys what these have looked like. This is the Pillow Talk palette. I do have all of them. So that's Pillow Talk. And I think this was the last one that they actually released, which was Smoky Eyes Are Forever. Really, really pretty one. I definitely need to pull this out. Why? Oh, okay. But this is what the previous limited edition holiday palettes from Charlotte Tilbury used to be. These sort of long eyeshadow pans. You get 12 shades and they're arranged into 4 like trios. So you can actually pick a trio and work from it to create an eye look, which I thought was a really cool concept. But you could of course move and work around the palette. Now let's open this baby up. And I want to preface you all, my palette came damaged, okay? So when you open her up, these are the 9 shades. And this is what I mean by damage. This shade completely fell out of the pan. before I even applied my first eye look. I do have it here. It did not break, so it's still pretty intact. And I'm gonna plop it in so you can just kind of see what the palette looks like, or is supposed to look like. And these are the 9 shades, but I will need to glue this back down because it did fall out when I got the palette. So just take that out. We don't have any issues here. So you do get 3 matte shades, and then you get 6 shimmer shades. It is a 9-pan eyeshadow palette, and you have a mixture of finishes and textures here. And going back to what I was saying about the price, this retails for $75. Those previous holiday palettes used to retail for $75 as well, and they are 12 shades. This is 9 shades. So a little discrepancy there we're already seeing. And I also want to give you guys this in the context of the other products that Charlotte Tilbury has. Now, a typical Charlotte Tilbury quad, which is what you will mainly see when you go to her website, and those are the like permanent palettes from the brand, retail for $55. So this might actually be, is it? Yeah, so this would be better value than buying the quad, because if one quad is $55 and you're getting 9 shades, you would have to buy 2 quads plus a single, which would already put you over $100. So in terms of value, you're gonna get more shadows from this one than if you were to buy the quads. And in terms of singles, a single eyeshadow from Charlotte Tilbury is $34. So again, I don't know what they are thinking with their pricing, because 2 single shadows are going to cost you $68. Make it make sense. But we're not going to go into that. So let's talk about what you're actually getting when it comes to the mattes and the shimmers. So on the brand website, it says that it features 9 shades and 3 mesmerizing finishes, creating show-stopping festive looks with neutral and eye-popping hues. So just to go through the finishes of each of the shades, we have 3 mattes. Virtual Taupe, which is the lightest, is a neutral taupe shade in the Fuchsia matte finish. Supernova Suede is a warm suede brown shade in the Fuchsia matte finish. Space Chocolate is a deep chocolate brown in the Fuchsia matte finish, used to define and smoke. Now, then they say that Cosmic Pink is a Fuchsia matte pink eyeshadow for pretty party eyes. I don't know why they're calling it a matte, because in my eyes it is very clearly a shimmer, but that's what the website says. And then they have Cyber Silver, which is oh no, that one is a matte. Never mind. It's 4 mattes. Sorry, it's 4 mattes and 5 shimmers. I forgot that this pink was a matte. My bad. So we have these 4 matte shades, and then we have 5 shimmers. So Cosmic Pink, which is the matte that I forgot, is in the Fuchsia matte finish. And then we start getting into the shimmers. So we have Cyber Silver, which is a silver shade with a shimmering crystal glow finish. Then Beautyverse is a molten champagne party topper shade. Planet Pink is a crystal glow shimmering metallic pink shade. Digital Lilac is a beautiful lilac shade with a shimmering crystal glow foil finish. And then we have Golden Galaxy, which is a show-stopping golden bronze crystal glow shade. So again, the 3 finishes are Fuchsia Matte, Party Topper, and Crystal Glow. Okay, and now that you guys have seen all of the swatches and heard the different finishes of the palettes, let's dive into the 2 demos. So I was about to get started, and this shade just gave up, just decided not today. Seems like it's glued in, so I'll have to glue it back in. I'm just saying, for $75, how dare you fall out? So I'm actually gonna start by going in with the center shade as my transition shade. It's called Supernova Suede. And I'm gonna just pick that up and plop that into the crease. Oh, wow. Now these shades have, or the matte shades at least, have a more cream to powder look to them. I of course haven't swatched this before doing this look, so I can't tell you how it feels, but I have expected this to be much lighter than it appears in the pan, because that's what I experience when I use Natasha Denona cream to powder mattes. Most of the time is that they are genuinely, 1, harder to work with, and 2, they look much deeper and richer in terms of pigment in the pan than they apply on the eyes. But this, Damn. Okay. Now I wasn't expecting that to be that pigmented. So I'm gonna actually go into the first matte shade, which is called Virtual Taupe, and I'm going to just take a little bit of that. Oh, pretty good pickup. And just apply that to the front part of the eye, blending it into the transition shade. Now this is lighter, but I am seeing it. Barely, but it does show up on my complexion. And then lastly, I'm going to go into Space Chocolate. This is the deepest matte the palette has to offer, and I'm going to use that to deepen up the outer V. Okay, this is pretty. It does have a pretty red undertone to it, and it's not that deep. So you're not gonna get a very smoky look, but I don't know if that's the intent of this palette. And quite frankly, if you are deeper than me, this might be a transition shade, or just like a crease shade in general. Phyllis, if y'all don't behave, I have a flock of birds that live in a tree outside my bedroom window, and I've named them all Phyllis because I've claimed them as my own. And in the morning, they're particularly active, and I swear to God, right now they're doing the most. Just fighting, and sometimes they just run into the window and make a bunch of noise. And I need Phyllis to, like, act right. I'm trying to film. Okay, here's the deal. This is as much depth as I'm gonna get from this. Like, it ain't gonna go any deeper, which is totally fine. Not every look has to be completely dark and grungy. It is what it is. Now, I do want to keep this pretty simple and neutral, so I'm gonna try to go in with these two shades as my shimmers for today. So the bottom one is called Golden Galaxy. The top one is called Beautyverse. I'm just gonna take my finger. Oh, that's pretty. And I am going to stamp that into the center of the lid. This is going to be pretty ethereal eye look. And then going into the Beautyverse shade. Oh, that's pretty. Oh, wow, that's beautiful. Just gonna plop that right next to it. Underneath the beer, you take it all off. Feeling deja vu while I'm kissing you. I can never forget. Okay, so this is essentially gonna be the look. I'm gonna clean things up and then come back and show you guys the final look. We were kissing for the whole ride home. Lay and making wishes, it was all night long. You told me you love me and I sang this song. I sang this song. I had an old time, so baby, we were kissing for the whole ride home. Lay and making wishes, it was all night. Okay, so this is the final look number one, and I really like this. I feel like this is giving Mario ethereal eyes, but better. And I know that's like bold for me to say right now. Obviously, there's not a ton of depth in the outer corner. You're not gonna get that from this palette. But yeah, this is what it feels like it's looking like. I'm gonna do one more look so you guys can see how the palette performs with some other shades, and then I'll come back and give you guys my overarching thoughts or first impressions on the palette. Okay, so we're back and we're gonna get started on look number two. We only have 3 mattes, so we're going back in to the exact same mattes. I keep forgetting that this shade is not glued in, so I'm really mad about that, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, so starting off by going into Virtual Taupe as the transition shade and plopping that into the crease. This automatic, you're stealing my heart, baby, stealing my heart. Then going across into Supernova Suede, we're going to start building depth in the crease.
Think you just cut 'em in two. You're my supernova, the way you're lighting up every room. I used to be.
Then I'm taking a slightly bigger brush and I'm going into the deepest shade in the palette. I don't even know what this is called. And I'm starting by concentrating that on the outer end, but then blending that into the previous shades and kind of over the lid in general. This would be a nice kind of one and done matte shade, in my opinion. It doesn't give much depth though, so we're gonna again have a very, very light look. And if you want something that's deeper, you're gonna have to reach into another palette for a deepening up shade. If you want my complexion, that is. If you're lighter than me, this might work for you, but for me, this is giving mid-tone, almost transition shade. Okay, now for the lid, I'm gonna go into the shade that keeps falling out. This is Digital Lilac. I'm just gonna go in with my finger. Oh, that's pretty. And I am going to stamp that into the center of the lid. Full transparency, I'm enjoying this palette way more than I thought I would. The shades are obviously very, very light, very ethereal, but I feel like I don't have a lot of palettes that do this kind of light ethereal look very well. Like I have the Makeup by Mario Ethereal Eyes one. That's pretty much it. Most other palettes have a ton of impact or just have more base to it, but not this level of like an ethereal look. Maybe I should give the Dose of Colors a try, because I think that that's what they were trying to do, is do a dual. Oh, you can get a really ethereal look, but if you put it on a black base, it's gonna give you a more impactful look. The Eternal Love palette with that Trevor guy. Then I'm gonna go into the pink shade that's right next to it. It's called Planet Pink. And I'm going to put that into the inner part of the eye just here. I think these are very, very similar. And you can really see it next to each other. Although the Planet Pink has a little bit more base to it, whereas the first shade has more sparkle, less base. Like these are the two shades on my finger. Very, very similar. Okay, this is gonna be the look, this is gonna be the vibe. I'm gonna go ahead, clean things up, pull everything together, and then I'll come back and show you guys the final look and give you guys just some of my first impressions, thoughts on this palette.
Do you know how much you've taken? Gone and on the run like a prisoner escaping. But you can't have it all, girl, I think that you're mistaken. You're stealing my heart, baby, stealing my heart.
Okay, I'm back and this is the final look. I just threw some gloss on my lips because I can find a lipstick. But just to quickly sum things up, I really do enjoy this palette. This is actually a surprising palette for me. When I saw this, I was like, oh my god, look at that dusty. Look at how dusty, and like that's not gonna be worth it. It's not gonna look good on me. It's not deep enough. I really was not planning on picking this up. But because I had points in my Bloomingdale's account, I was able to pay $4 for this, which did make it worth it. I wasn't gonna buy a handbag, but I'd had to spend more of my money. So in trying to save money, I decided to spend it on this and get the makeups. First, I think the obvious. My shadow shouldn't have been falling out. The construction definitely sucks, especially considering that this is a $75 palette. I do think that that is something that is quite aggravating and should not have happened. I'll just glue it back in. It's not that big of a deal, but it is quite annoying. In terms of the performance of the shadows, I do think that they perform really well. I think that Charlotte Tilbury really nailed the sort of ethereal look, which I was quite surprised by. I don't know what I expected going into this, but it was extremely fun to play in this. And the looks are super soft, which is something that I don't really have in my collection. And honestly, I'm always looking for depth. I'm always looking for a little bit more drama. And this was like, no girl, sit down, let's do something soft. And I kind of appreciated that. In terms of the mattes, these are nice mattes, but they definitely don't go deep enough. So while for me, this is a really nice soft look, I can see for somebody deeper than me that these mattes aren't going to be matte in the way that they need to. So just something to take into account if you are of a deeper complexion. Now this is going to be a palette that I see myself traveling with, taking to work and other events because of how soft the shadows perform. And I am quite happy that I have it in my collection. I do think that it is quite overpriced. I don't think it's worth $75. And looking at her previous palettes, which had more shades, y'all see where the industry is going, right? You're getting less for the same price or less for more, which... how did we get here, Jesus? But anyways, those are my first impressions thoughts. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing me apply the two looks onto my eyes and just seeing what this palette can do if you are of my complexion. I will, of course, have this in a rankings video coming up for you guys very soon. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button to make sure you don't miss that when it pops up. Leave a comment down below letting me know what you thought about this palette. Did you know this palette was out there? Were you interested in it? Are you planning to pick it up? Any questions that you guys might have, all of that in the comments. And yeah, I said like, comment, subscribe, all that fun jazz. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you so much more than you know, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!